March 23rd, and I just want to touch on a couple things here. Try to do it pretty quickly tonight. Main reason for this video is that I started buying some stuff with some funds that I don't like to move around a lot. My girlfriend's 401k. We moved it back from heavily bond concentrated. Today I moved that back to lower bond weighting, about 10% bond weighting, and back to 90% equity rating. And the reason I'm doing that now is because I am expecting us to move into this resistance perhaps tomorrow, right? I was expecting late last week, but they managed to get this chopped up and into next week, or into this week here. So tomorrow, Wednesday, I really would like to see bottoming in the equity markets. Now, what I can't tell you, because the structure has gotten so shitty, we'll kind of zoom into that later. But from the larger perspective view, what I can't tell you is if it's bottoming in the end of the third wave, and we still need the fourth and the fifth, or I can count it as the correction being completed in its entirety as soon as tomorrow through Thursday, really. With the speed that the market's moving, I would say tomorrow morning potentially, maybe even before the open, which is kind of why we started to make some moves before the close today. So some positive thinking here. We are moving into major market support, long-term market support as I view it, is this big blue box here on the daily. This big blue box was generated from the Great Recession, right? So capped, and that 2015, 2016 correction should serve as powerful resistance. Additionally, we have the median line of the pitchfork, which generally is where wave 4s retreat back to, right in the same area. So expecting heavy resistance in this area, or heavy support in this area, I should say. So looking for a bounce back to begin as soon as tomorrow or the following day. My preference is still for the bigger C wave that I have been drawing. Right? If we zoom in, the move is beginning to look distorted because of how far we've fallen, and I choose to view charts on a logarithmic scale. So it's going to make the stuff up at the top end of the move look quite small in relation. So you got to kind of disregard that. This would ordinarily be larger in relation. It's just we're getting some skew. So I'm viewing this as an ending diagonal structure. We've completely lost all impulsive movement here. So we should have a move coming into its termination. It's having a difficult time pushing further. Now, maybe you could say that that's due to liquidity injections from the government. Maybe you could attribute that to other things, but it's really getting chopped up and really losing any sense of this clean linear rhythm that we had, and we are moving into what I think is major support. So I am expecting a very nice bounce to take place over the next week, maybe two. I have this drawn taking to April 3rd, but the market has been moving faster than I have been drawing it. But that would be a decent duration long to take, potentially as soon as tomorrow. I have it drawn the 25th. Today, again, is the 23rd. But here nor there. We still could see one more fall into the, I have it drawn here as the 1850 area. Now that's only 200 S&P points lower. So if these are long-term funds, you may want to take the risk and enter here, maybe with half, maybe with all of it. Depends on what your risk tolerance is. It may be very difficult for everybody to believe that this is the bottom, but this is everything that sentiment analysis has taught me. You know, you should almost want to barf when you press that buy button in instances like this. If we go back to the long-term charts, we're right where we kind of thought we would be, right? If we look at the S&P 500 long-term chart, right? The median line of the fork here generally sets the base for a fourth wave correction. If we harken back to some of the pitchfork dynamics that I had been talking about, we have Fibonacci confluence as well, right? We generally like for the third wave to advance to the 786. Let me make this yellow so it's easier to see. We generally like to see the third wave advance to the 786 and fourth wave to correct somewhere in between the 618 and the 0.5. The 618 is at 2115 if I've drawn this correctly. Right, so good confluence there on the pitchfork chart and the Fibonacci chart on the S&P. Over on the Dow, the median line of the fork, we are essentially there. So this move could be completed in the Dow, right? We may see a high bounce in the Dow and return to what looks like a double bottom in the Dow. Over on the NASDAQ, the median line of the fork is here at 65.48. So again, we are nearing places where our initial expectation for the correction to, to go to, we are nearing those levels, and we want to, at least I want to honor the rules that I've put in place for myself and the research that I've done, and we want to be putting money to work at these levels. So not much further to correct on the NASDAQ. Russell 2000, as we said it would, just got absolutely creamed. This chart I don't have as much history for, and I'm a little more reticent to trust these forks on the Russell than the others, but this is the median line here of this fork, and we are very close to reaching that as well. Say somewhere down around the 919 area on the Russell 2000, and I told myself I was going to catch this move, and I am disappointed at the amount of it that I caught. I knew this was going to happen, and I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get all of it. But what can you say? It was harder to trade than I envisioned it, from before. If we go to my high-low indicator system that I use for trading a good portion of my funds, we are starting to see the inward curl that I want to see on my 6-day moving average. This is actually a 2-day chart, so it's actually a 12-day moving average. We're beginning to see that inward curl that allows for things to bottom, right? So my next expectation would be for the light blue or the darker blue signal line to just rocket all the way up here to the red line during this short-term bounce I expect to take about 2 weeks. Right, so that would look something like this over here. We should be in this kind of posture, and we have the signal line just blasting up here to the red line and then falling back for the completion or the wave 5 down. That's kind of what I would expect to see in the near term here. I would expect to see the signal line blast off, retreat. We should see the orange line come up and then settle back a little lower yet when this move completes, and then it'll be time to buy as indicated by this system, right? We should see this, we should see the orange line come down, we should see the blue line level out here, and we should see the orange cross over the blue somewhere in this area, probably early June, I would guess. the way things are looking now on charts would be when this system would probably throw off a buy signal if I was to try and front run the system. When we look at the VIX charts, right, the VIX has ideally already reached my target, right? We've got, it's just kind of hanging up here. It did pierce down below momentarily. We're kind of hanging here. Maybe we'll get one more push down to the 95 region, but the VIX has reached its target. I don't really want to press any more on the VIX. Rather, I am short the VXX now, looking for the retreat from 61 present levels back to 1560, right? So big move there on the short side that we can harness on the VIX. My favorite indicator, the one I am tracking the most here, is the Kopek curve of the treasuries divided by SPX, right? The ratio of those two. And I believe we are starting to see, you know, the rounding over on the top here that I'd like to see. And we should start to see what I'm saying is the fourth wave bounce materialize. So we would be, if we just focus in on this area here, this is a similar move. This is a C wave down, and I believe we are seeing similar behavior, right? Where we should be right in this area here, expecting to have this fourth wave bounce as the Kopek curve rolls over and retreats to this red line, right? We should see this price move higher, right, as the Kopek curve rolls over. And that's what I think we're going to see over here, if I can get there fast enough. As the Kopek curve rolls over, I think we should see this bounce higher, and that would also be reflected in true SPX price. Right, so that's what I'm looking for in the next few days. I want to see the Kopek curve begin to follow the shape that it took in this time frame here. What else we got? We are now overshooting, similar to how we did here with the put-call ratio. Now we have, you know, a reading above 1. So we're beginning to get, you know, beginning to go the other way. People are selling a lot of puts relative to calls, right? So now we are getting a little bit bearish now here in the market. So we want to see that kind of get back up here and chop around. Very similar to how we did in this area here. Overshot to the low, come back, and we'll see if we get that. So that's kind of, and the gold-oil ratio is just completely blown out. Gold is, I think, probably too high, and oil is definitely too low. I don't know if oil's an immediate buy, but I am moving into some ExxonMobil down here in the 30s. Maybe it goes to the 20s, but I think we see the 60s again very shortly in ExxonMobil, and I wouldn't be surprised to see gold sell off here a bit as you know, as people are looking for liquidity. Maybe it doesn't sell off. Maybe oil just comes rearing back, and gold stays stationary to bring this back down into, you know, the realm of where it normally lies. But we'll see how that goes. So there you have it. Expecting to see bottoming action. I am no longer shorting. I might short futures tonight, but beyond that, I am looking to get long. Right? We are looking to buy, and I encourage you guys to do the same. Look to buy, and if we see, you know, if we see ourselves start to break below, you know, 2,000, start to break below 1950, I would begin to reevaluate my thinking. But now's the time that I want to start to make a stand and add to my equity positions. So that's it, and I wish you guys good luck. See ya.